25 years, a silver jubilee of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria from 1999 to 2024 is the longest ever in the checkered history of Nigeria. Political parties serving as catalysts for sustainability of democracy within Nigeria, the convergence of ideologies, varied political views, and allegiance can only make democracy robust and leadership actually purposeful. Now, the rule by the majority that gives the people the liberty to elect leaders they believe would satisfy their collective aspirations for development. Actually, we must say, kudos to former military head of state General Abdulsalami Abubakar, who is actually now retired, as his sacrifice and desire are now 25 years of an unbroken journey, or would I say voyage. Now on Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue, we celebrate Nigeria as it currently celebrates 25 years of uninterrupted democracy this day of June 12th. Join us in the next phase of the show, but before you do that, you do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Veegil Media, and follow us across various social media platforms. Join me in the next phase of the show. Welcome back to the show. We will be talking about June 12th, Democracy Day. It is actually a commemoration of the nation Nigeria, and it's actually going to be a narrative coming from me. Now, Democracy Day is a national public holiday in Nigeria to commemorate the restoration of democracy in 1999. Commemorated on June 12 actually. Until 2018, it was celebrated annually on May 29. It is a tradition that has been held annually beginning in the year 2000, I beg your pardon. Now, historically speaking, Nigeria gained independence from Great Britain on 1st of October 1960. Now, for most of its independent history, Nigeria was ruled by a series of military juntas, interspersed by free or brief moments of democratic rule. Now, the last major military ruler was General Sani Abacha, who died suddenly on a Monday, June 8, 1998. His successor, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, promised a transition to democracy, and accordingly, a new constitution was adopted as at May 5, 1999. Elections definitely were as usual were held, and retired General Olusegun Obasanjo, who had previously governed Nigeria as a military ruler, was elected as the new president. Now, since the year 2000, Democracy Day has been celebrated in Nigeria on May 29 in Nigeria, making it when the newly elected Olusegun Obasanjo took office as president. Now, on June 6, 2018, 8 days just after May 29, 2018 had been celebrated as Democracy Day, the government of President Muhammadu Buhari declared June 12 to be the new Democracy Day. Now, this was actually done to commemorate the democratic election of Moshood Abiola, we all know him as MKO, on June 12, 1993, which was wrongfully annulled by the government of General Badamasi Ibrahim Babangida, aka IBB. We also know him as the Maradona of the time of the 90s. Now, this was because they viewed the general election on June 12, 1993 as a more fitting date to celebrate, representing the values of democracy more than the events of May 1999. Now, June 12, 1993 was the first presidential election on 10 years actually since the 1983 military coup. Many political observers and Nigerians saw this election as the most significant date in Nigeria's post-independence history, and it's viewed as the freest and fairest election held in Nigeria. So far, so good. Now, MKO Abiola, Moshood Kashimawo Abiola of the Social Democratic Party was agreed to have won the election at around 14 million Nigerians who actually exercised their civic franchise. Now, their democratic rights also not excluded voting in the elections. This would have put an end to the 8-year military dictatorships actually coming from the IBB regime, the Buhari Diagbon regime. Now, in any case, however, the election was annulled by President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, like I said earlier on in the initial phase of the show, who claimed there were irregularities It's now agreed by most foreign observers that the initial election result was actually free and fair, and it should have never been anywhere near being annulled. Now, of the 30 states at the time in 1993, Abiola won 19 of them. There were around 14 million votes which were actually cast on the ballot in total, and Abiola received over 8 million as of 1993. Now, after the result was annulled, there were violent clashes, protests across the southwest regions of Nigeria, and the government actually shut down media houses, the likes of FRCN and Radio Nigeria, just to mention a few, or even NTA. They also apprehended journalists who covered the issue. The final result was actually leaked by activists who actually defied the laws, or they actually defied the laws to reveal the MKO majority. Now, MKO was eventually arrested, detained, and charged with treason after declaring himself as the true elected president. Join me in the next phase of the show. Now, for many Nigerians, whether it's called democracy or uninterrupted civilian rule, the past 25 years have been a roller coaster of a journey, but it remains a milestone for the country, considering that in most 64 years of its independence, Nigerians have only experienced democracy between 1960 to 1966, 1979 to 1983, and now the longest so far so good, which is actually a stretch, from 1999 to 2024. Now, within this long stretch, while many Nigerians have been left disappointed at not only the pace of the journey of democracy, some have observed that it is difficult to understand if the movement is progressive or retrogressive. Those in this category, mostly the majority of the masses, continuously lament that the dividends of democracy have not been forthcoming, and that has become difficult to understand. The brand of democracy being practiced in the country, which compared to other climates actually is in total contrast. But the other category, most of which are the ruling class, believe that though the country may not be where it ought to be, the journey has been promising, arguing that within this period, Nigeria has actually witnessed significant opening in civic spaces with the traditional media, and now in conjunction with the prevailing social media, playing critical roles in not just electioneering periods, but also in governance. We take a cue from our campaigns. They also argue that though 25 years may be a long time for humans, it remains insignificant in measuring the progress of a nation. Now, with 5 presidents produced, so far so good in the 25 years, we can mention from OBJ down to Tinubu. It is indeed memorable and an eventful period in the history of our existence as a people, a nation, and a democratic independent entity. Undoubtedly, 25 years of an uninterrupted civil rule and mostly a lengthy democracy to Nigerians is a long way to call. This indeed calls for celebration that we could still, and as a people, a nation and a voice, despite all odds and challenges over the 25 years, be optimistic. Notably, Nigeria's uninterrupted democratic sojourn had been characterized at a stretch with mixed experiences, no doubt about that. The good, the bad, the ugly, the progress, the progress or the retrogression, the economic boom and the economic upturn, upheavals and giant strides, success and challenges, hopes and also successive fulfillments. Actually, the list is endless. Now, no matter how it appeared to us as individuals and a people, the fact is that our democracy has been sustained. This period, so far so good, though with open rooms for further improvement. We strongly believe that the years to come will actually be filled with positivism, success stories and giant strides of achievements, and unmatched synergy towards unity, development of sound democratic values, most importantly, and ultimately developing the youths of our dear country, Nigeria. Our core belief in attaining a peaceful Nigeria resonates still only if our government and leaders alike will do more in connecting with the people, from the grassroots, the state level, and also at the center. Obviously, Nigeria has a growing democracy, no doubt about that. Unlike other developed nations, Nigeria's democracy is still at its forming phase, so there's no room for comparison. But we can keep growing from strength to strength if we keep believing. We urge the government at all tiers, like I mentioned, the local government, the state, and also the federal, to learn from obstacles we have actually overcome in the past as a country and the progress we made thus far to help strengthen the plans that the nation has in place to put Nigeria back on the path of progress. Now, on the recent formation of the new administration across the country, after the 2023 general elections, we wish to emphasize people participation and productivity. We hereby implore our elected few to consider the well-being of the majority. This will further strengthen the core values of our young democracy and propel it to a geometric progression towards the Nigeria we all actually desire. We wish to state unequivocally that the focal point and central theme of democracy is the people, which actually defines that government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Therefore, government must show unconditional concern for the people it actually governs. Workable techniques and solutions should actually be swiftly deployed to stop the incessant killings across the country. Adequate security measures should also be taken with drastic approaches towards stopping the ill acts. It is true that our journey to nationhood and democracy from 1960 to date has been characterized by upheavals and turbulence, yet we must actually cherish our commitment to remain united in unison and respect for one another. We must also acknowledge the strength and value of our diversity, with due understanding and recognition of the interests of various ethnic nationalities in our hearts. As real patriots, we have decided to realize the flag of our dear country because Nigeria is actually ours. Notably, Nigeria is a unique nation blessed in diversity, and in our diversity lies our strength. It's worth of note that the problem of Nigeria is not whether you are Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Bini, Edo, Eson, Efik, Ibibio, Kalabari, Ishekiri, Idoma, Ijo, Urobo, Kanuri, Okobo, Nupe, Oron, Igala. Neither is it in Christianity nor Islam. Indeed, the inability to tolerate, appreciate ourselves, and peacefully coexist, which actually is. Accept your neighbor as he or she is, respect his dignity, and celebrate his difference. Worthy of reference is that our dear nation has had its unfair share of what threatens our unity, peaceful coexistence, togetherness, and entity in recent times. From the north to the east, the south, and also to the west, series of ethnical viciousness, agitations, and unrest are evident. However, regardless of our differences, ethnic inclinations, and ideological beliefs, we have resolved to remain one and united. This is worthy of commendation, I must say, and a worthwhile feat to celebrate on this occasion of our Democracy Day. Now, as we commemorate our Democracy Day today, June 12, we should forge a common front of national interest to address important issues bordering on security, economic growth, infrastructural development, and well-being of Nigerians alongside other priorities at large. I'm Odiawa AI for Viewpoint Media, and the show has been Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. Happy Democracy Day from Viewpoint Media.